All right, we have NFL Network's Tom Pelissero here. And Tom, we were just talking off camera about just the surreal nature of this past week with the Minnesota Vikings and the Josh Dobbs effect. Just putting it into words for you, how would you describe just going from Josh Dobbs being here last week to now winning NFC Offensive Player of the Week?
Well, you go back and the start of that week was Kirk Cousins suffering a torn Achilles. And, there's the emotional impact of that. There's the logistical impact on Kwesi and Kevin and everybody else who's trying to go through all the various options, explore everything and figure out what can we do? What's feasible here? It's just a couple of days. The trade deadline was after Kirk's injury. And so you're not thinking through a lens of, all right, well, let's let's completely move on and let's bring in Kyler Murray, who's got guaranteed money out into 2025. Let's give up huge draft capital because you're still, want to keep your options open to you, including bringing back Kirk for 2024. So you're looking for who gives us the best opportunity to try to keep winning games at a time that, but for Kirk's injury, this was the best Vikings team that we had seen. I mean, if you look through the course of this season, the way they were playing in the backfield, and obviously now they've lost Cam Akers too. At wide receiver with Jordan Addison stepping up, and that Justin Jefferson, you're anticipating he's going to be back in the coming weeks here. TJ Hawkinson over the past couple of weeks has played his best football. The line is playing well, and the defense has been a lot better than what we saw in the early going to as they continue to adjust to a new system. What you're lacking now is Kirk Cousins, who was probably playing his best football as well. So they went through a lot of different options. They bring in Josh Dobbs in a trade. The third time in a calendar year that Josh Dobbs has been acquired and then had to play for his new team within a few weeks. I mean, that's wild. I don't care if you're a rocket scientist or not. That's still a lot to learn. And so you saw the whole process on the field, him just showing the linemen his cadence, him introducing himself to teammates, to go out and play the best football we've ever seen Josh Dobbs play, to make, not one, but several remarkable plays that if you were making a highlight reel the entire 2023 season for the league, they'd be on there. It was extremely unique type of an event. It does have a little bit of that magical feel, but, that was also a game where the Falcons are game planning for Jaren Hall, and you're kind of getting out the scope of your normal offense. Teams are going to play you differently when they're preparing for Josh Dobbs. Let's see what he does from here. But I know that's one of those games that the people who've been in that building a long time and never forget.
Yeah, for sure. It is a week, like you said, that no one would ever forget. But there's been a lot of conversations. And before we talk about the Saints-Vikings matchup, I want to talk about one conversation that's starting to become a talking point when it comes to here in Minnesota, but also nationally. Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year. At this point, it feels like you can put anybody, you can put you and myself in this offense, and Kevin O'Connell can say, okay, well, this is what Tom does best. Maybe run 5-yard route here, and we can catch the ball, get down. But at the same time, why does Kevin O'Connell make a case for Coach of the Year at this point?
Well, I made the case for him on The Insiders, which, of course, you can watch every weekday at 11 a.m. Central Time on NFL Plus, noon to 2 on NFL Network. Please tune in. I made the case for Kevin for Coach of the Year the other day because, I mean, look at the number of challenges. Just in the Atlanta game alone, you're down your top three quarterbacks, if you include Nick Mullins in there as well. You have the running back gets hurt. You don't have a superstar receiver, and you don't have your left tackle who tweaks his groin during the week, and you find out the day before the game, he's not, or morning of the game, basically, that he's not going to be able to go. Who are the three most important players on this Vikings offense? Not to cast aspersions on anyone else, but it's Kirk, it's Justin, and it's Darisaw. You don't have any of them, and you find a way to go to beat another team that's in the thick of the NFC playoff chase. Kevin got one Coach of the Year vote a year ago, despite going 13-4. I would jokingly say, let's see if we can get him two this year. I no longer have a vote for those awards, but Kevin's done a remarkable job here. I think that people around the league have noticed that the challenge only gets tougher from here because now all of a sudden the house money you were playing with is gone. Now it's okay. We're thinking you could be a pretty good team, and hey, Justin's coming back. You should get Darisaw back. Dobbs just blew it up last week. This is kind of the week-to-week nature of the league, and that every week has its own challenges. And now, whereas a week ago it was, well, they're buried. What are they ever going to do? Now it's, hey, are they catching lightning in a bottle? Is this Case Keenum all over again? Let's see. And they're facing another team this week that, again, is in the thick of that NFC playoff chase. And these are the types of games you want to win if you're going to be in this thing at the end.
This game, this upcoming Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, is a playoff game. It has a playoff feel. Both teams don't like each other. But when you look at this matchup with both respective teams, what stands out to you?
Well, I think with the Saints, it starts with their defense. Dennis Allen's a defensive coach. Cam Jordan, who's dad Steve, of course, is a Vikings legend. Continues to produce in his mid-30s at this point. They got a lot of very veteran players. I think they might lead the league in just the overall players, offense and defense, who are over age 30. I mean, this is a very veteran team that's built to win right now, and they've hit their bumps through the course of the season from an offensive perspective. We know that there's been frustration. It seems like the last couple of weeks they've gotten a little bit more rolling. They've won some games, so that's kind of cooled off a little bit here. But with this Vikings defense and what they're doing right now with Brian Flores, you have to commend Flores for what he's done as well. It's never easy running the type of scheme that he wants to, because it can be so varied, so game plan specific. A guy who has a role this week may not have a role next week, where things might change up. Yet they're throwing a lot of these opposing offenses, and as guys have settled in more to the way they want to play, you're seeing this Vikings defense be really good. So I got no doubt that from a defensive perspective, they're going to present some challenges here. I'm most notably going to be looking for, how do the Saints match up against the Vikings? They've obviously got some veteran corners, guys like Marshawn Lattimore. And then on the other side of the football, it's also about just kind of what is the game plan? Because again, Flores, it's going to be different every single week. How do they decide to challenge Derek Carr and this offense? I mean, if there's a guy that I'm scared of on that team, I know he's been around a long time, but it's Alvin Kamara. Let Michael Thomas beat me. Chris Olave's playing great. Rashid Shaheed's a big play threat, but the one guy I don't want to beat me is Alvin Kamara. So, I would anticipate, I don't have nearly the credentials that Brian Flores does, so I'll let him make their own game plan. But if it's me, I want to make sure that I'm keeping Kamara both in the run game and the stuff he can do in space, keep him from beating me in this game.
When it comes to this rivalry, there's one thing that both teams will never forget. For the Vikings, we'll never forget the Minneapolis Miracle. And then for the Saints, they'll never forget that 5-touchdown performance that Alvin Kamara had on Christmas Day a couple of years ago. My last question for you, Tom.
I thought you were going to say 09 National Championship game. If we bleeped that out from Vikings.com lore, are we just not talking? Because there's a lot of people who still have some thoughts on that game as well, Gabe.
We're just talking about recent memory.
14 years ago. Yeah,
Yes.
That's how long we've been doing this thing, or at least I have. That's a long time.
It's crazy. My last question for you is, with everything that has been transpiring for this team in purple, the Minnesota Vikings, how do you sustain the success with this stretch of a schedule coming up with not so many great teams when you talk about, the Saints and the Bucks and the teams in the NFC South of the world?
Well, listen, you got 3 games until the bye, right? We'll see what Justin Jefferson's status is going forward if he ends up playing before that. I know there's optimism that he's going to be back sooner than later here, but they're going to be cautious, obviously, because it's your best player. You want to make sure you're doing the right things by him. If you can get to that bye, and I would have said this even before the game last week, so you don't want to lose 2 of the next 3, but I would have said after losing Kirk, over those 4 games, you're just thinking, let us be 2-2. Regroup at the bye. You got the Lions twice late in the year. You got an opportunity to make up some ground there, but just stay alive. Be like 6-6 going in. Now, if you're 7-5, great. That's even better. But just stay alive here to the point where you get a little bit healthier on that side of the football. You get Jefferson back and see what you can do down the stretch. The quarterback challenge is a significant one. And I know, and I'm not trying in any way to stomp on Josh Dobbs and all the great things that, that he did last week, but it's still a challenge. There's a reason that he's bounced around. There's a reason that he's available. Let's see how Kevin O'Connell continues to scheme things up around what that guy does best.
All great points, Tom. Looking forward to seeing you there on Sunday.
Absolutely. You got it.